Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and welcome to the first ever episode of my Smite Beginner's Guide. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hit the like button if you're excited for it, and make sure to stay tuned for the rest of the video. Alright guys, now welcome to my Smite Beginner's Guide. Now I tried making a Smite Beginner's Guide in the past, literally on 2 occasions, but I gave up on it simply because I was making the videos in a way which didn't really, I guess, mix with my style of making videos. So I'm going at it again, I'm winging it, and I'm just doing it how I see is the best way to do it, which is basically me talking and explaining things as I show you guys, as I did in my Warframe beginner guides and all that stuff if you watched those before. But the reason that I'm making Smite videos is because I really like Smite. Warframe kind of get a little stale, simply because I'm only logging onto the game, making a video and hopping off it, where with Smite I'm actually actively playing it throughout the week, so I can sort of make more videos for this and sort of make a more fun video this year and really sort of express my personality, I guess, in videos a little bit more, because obviously I'm more up to date with the meta in this game and I'm just more with it in this game as well. So you're going to see a mixture of both Warframe and Smite content on the channel. Mainly going to be a free-to-play game channel, or like a, invest once sort of MMORPG guy or something like that there. Anything that basically appeals to me in terms of playing video games is what I'm going to post to play on this channel. So I thought, let's make a Smite beginner, guys, because a lot of people in my Warframe community want to get into Smite, but not a lot of people know actually how Smite works or how MOBAs work in general. So I thought that Smite is my first MOBA, and, a lot of people seem to suck at MOBAs. I'm really good at this game now anyway. A new god just recently got released called Kuzimbo. I'm not going to talk about him in this video, but just that's there. But we're going to be talking about Smite, and the first thing that I want to go over in this video is the importance of rules in Smite. Now, whenever you're a new player, you're going to start in a very, I want to say, almost balanced elo. About 1500 elo is what you're going to play at, or 1500 MMR, which is basically your matchmaking rank in casual and ranked games. And as you play, this is either going to increase or decrease based on your wins and losses, right? So if you win a lot, then obviously you're going to get placed with better players. If you lose a lot, you're going to get placed with worse players who probably don't understand the game as much. So it's really important to understand, the rules within the game, how they work, which lanes they go in if you're playing Conquest, how to play them if you're playing Joust, or any game mode really. So there is 5 rules in Smite. There's the Assassin, the Warrior, Guardian, Mage, and the Hunter, and they all do their own specific thing. They're all good at one thing, they're bad at other things, and it's just really down to you to take advantage of the things that they're good at and, just kind of avoid the things that they're bad at. So let's say for a Hunter, it's going in and starting a team fight and staying in that team fight and taking a lot of damage. You're not a tank, you're a very squishy target. You're not necessarily really good at soaking up all that damage and then dishing it out at the same time, unless you build like a certain lifesteal item, for example. But obviously we'll get a lot more into that whenever we start to talk about the gods in more sort of specific videos, I guess. So yeah, let's basically just go through all of the rules. So we'll start with the Hunter, simply because I feel like the Hunter it's probably the role that you're going to like the most as a newer player, because it's the role which is going to allow you to feel very powerful, implying that you do well. Now you are going to have matches where you do very well, and you are going to have matches where you do very bad, and whenever you do very bad, you're going to feel disheartened, you're going to feel like really kicked in the teeth, because whenever you do bad in Smite, you do really bad, because it's a MOBA. If you do bad at the beginning of the match, you do bad at the middle of the match, you're going to do bad for the rest of the game. Simply because it's all based on farming XP, farming gold, and not letting your opponent get that XP and gold. So as like basically every rule in the game, you have to stop your opponent from killing your minion waves, killing your buff camps or jungle camps or whatever it may be, to stop them from getting ahead of you. So don't get disheartened if you're playing the game and you're getting really beat up. You basically just have to, take your loss and then hope for a better match next match, because the good matches, whenever you do have a good match, you really do have a good match, and that is really what makes this game so appealing, because you get that sort of thrill of really doing well, and then you always want to keep going for that match where you really do well, and that's what's going to make you keep coming back to this game, doing well, getting those wins, maybe even communicating with your team if you're playing this with friends, which is something that I really do recommend. You can go ahead and join my Discord, link will be in the description. happen. A lot of people play Smite in the Discord, and it would be awesome to have a lot of new faces and a lot of new players in the Discord. So enough of my blabbering, let's actually talk about the rules now. So the ADC is a ranged physical type god, mostly or mainly. And basically what they do, their job early game is to farm up gold from the minion waves and sometimes XP from the jungle camps based on the teammates that they have in their team. And basically what their sort of abbreviation is ADC. So an ADC basically stands for attack damage carry, and this means that you attack, you damage the minion waves, you get the kills, you farm up your golden XP, and then you get ahead, and then you're able to basically carry the team because you're going to be doing so much damage. So really all you have to do as an ADC is build up your build. So farm really heavily in the early game, and then late game you're going to be the most powerful god on the battlefield, implying you play correctly. So let's take Artemis for example, because I feel like she is probably one of the most powerful gods in the game at this moment in time. She is so good because her passive basically gives her built-in crit, right? So if we go ahead and click on the abilities tab right here, we can see if we click on her passive, Artemis gains a critical strike chance buff on each successful hit. So every time she hits a basic attack where she doesn't actually crit, she's going to get a critical chance strike buff. So that means she's going to eventually land a critical strike no matter what, regardless. As long as she keeps on hitting her basic attacks, she's eventually going to get a critical hit. So you don't even have to build a critical hit item to be critting with Artemis. That is what makes her so good. But obviously she does have downsides, like for example not having an escape ability. So if you get caught out in a team fight or an enemy god comes around and stuns you, you're not going to be able to get away as easily as you would with, let's say, another ADC known as Huyi, who basically has a leap known as dive bomb. You know, you can launch yourself up in the air and then just dive into a random place in the map. It's pretty cool. But going back to Artemis, basically what you want to be doing with Artemis is sustaining yourself in the lane very early on. So that's why we built an item known as Death's Toll. Now this is a starter item, which basically what it does is it's going to give you mana and health whenever you're basic attacking the enemy. So hitting an enemy with a basic attack restores 8 health and 3 mana. This is basically allowing you to sustain in lane and out farm your opponent. Same thing with your Devourer's Gauntlet. This is going to give you health back. So you permanently gain +4 physical power, or +0.4 physical power and +20% physical lifesteal per stack, and receive 5 stacks per god kill and 1 stack per minion kill. Basically, this item is going to give you a buttload of damage, and it's also going to give you a buttload of lifesteal, allowing you to basically sustain in lane for a very long time. So you're going to get 55 physical power, and you're also going to get that base 10% lifesteal and a lot more lifesteal, plus or 0.20% per stack. You know, that's pretty good. That's pretty hefty. So that's basically all you want to be doing with ADCs, is you want to farm up, build those stacks up, sustain yourself in the lane, and basically just stay in lane as much as you can, kill those minion waves, build up your build, and then when you're ready, go in for an amazing team fight and basically just like free hit enemies. That's what you're here for. That's what you're there to do. Implying your support or your mage or whatever, if your mage pokes them a little bit and, you know, puts them down to half HP, you might be able to one-shot them. If your support roots them, you'll be able to walk up to them and basically just, you know, mow them down with your basic attacks. That's how strong ADC can become in the late game if you play them properly. So I'm not going to explain this entire build to you guys, but that should give you a general consensus of how to play an ADC. Play really passive early game, and then if you do well in the early game, you can be extremely aggressive in the late game, and then just basically shit all over your enemies. That's basically how an ADC works in general MOBAs. So going on to our next role, which is the Mage role. This is usually the role that you'd find in the middle lane on a conquest map. Mages are basically kind of the same as ADCs in the sense that you want to be farming your lane, but you also want to be a little bit more aggressive with it. And what I mean by that there is you want to be using your abilities to sort of push those minion waves really far up, basically so the enemy team doesn't have a minion wave at all, and then roaming and then doing your buff camps, if those are applicable on whatever map that it is that you're playing. There's a lot of different mages in Smite, so some, again, have their advantages and disadvantages. Let's say, for example, Alquang, not the best at clearing waves, but he is a very good jungler. So different mages can be used within different roles, but let's just talk about it in general. Let's you know, play a mage, let's play in the middle lane, or let's play the front line in a team on Joust or something like that there. So Kukulkan, this is a very awesome mage, simply because he can basically place a tornado down in the middle of the battlefield. It's pretty awesome, pretty cool. And what this does is it damages the minion wave, and then enemy gods that walk into that minion wave are going to be damaged. And you know, you basically get a pretty decent amount of map control using this god. He has a slow, he has an escape, and he has a pretty cool ultimate, which will basically just, you know, almost one-shot enemies if you hit it. You know, it's a very skill-based ability from Kukulkan right here. So, you know, it solely relies on how good you are with aiming in terms of that Kukulkan ult, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every single mage has to, you know, have extremely accurate, you know, ultimate landings. Obviously, most shots in Smite are skill shots, so you have to be able to aim, obviously, in Smite to do well, but that's, I guess that's just kind of common sense. This is the type of game that it is. In terms of MOBA, it's like a third-person MOBA, so of course, but we're straying off a little bit. So as a mage, you want to be aggressive, you want to be pushing your waves up, but you also want to play passive at the same time. It's not really worth dying over camps, it's not worth dying over a minion wave. You want to basically just be more powerful than the enemy mage by out-farming them, just pushing their wave up quicker than they can push yours, poking them out of the lane by, you know, using things like Zeus's 2, which is basically where he throws a shield at them and it'll poke and deal damage to them. Then you can hit that with basic attacks and it'll deal a little bit more damage if we go ahead and hit the abilities here. So Aegis Assault, you basically throw this shield and then you can hit it with basic attacks and it's going to keep on dealing damage. You just want to like take little pieces of their health away as you're laning after you push their minion wave. So a good strategy would be, let's say you have an ability which goes in a straight line, you shoot that ability that goes in a straight line through the minion wave, and then you have an ability which you can throw and it has like a little circle radius around it. You throw that at the enemy god and then that will deal damage to them, and then you go in and then you do your jungle camp, you come out, you have more XP, you have more gold than that enemy god. That way you can rinse and repeat, you clear the wave, you throw the 2 at that god, or you throw the little radius ability at that god and that takes damage from you, and you keep gradually eating their health away until you feel comfortable using your ultimate and securing the kill on that enemy god. That's basically how I play mages. I don't know, maybe a professional player might want to come into the comment section and tell me otherwise, but that's how I usually play mages in the middle lane. So moving on to the next god section, it's Guardians. I like playing as Guardians simply because I get to sort of almost control my ADC in a way, because the Guardians and the ADC, or the Guardian and the Hunter I should be saying for simplicity's sake, they stay in the dual lane together. So if you're on the blue side of the map, that's going to be the left hand lane, and if you're in the red side of the map, that's going to be the right hand lane if we're playing Conquest. Joyce is a completely different story, that's a completely different game, and I'll explain that there whenever we play it in the next video. But Guardians are basically the guys which will roam with your ADC, and these guys basically just make it so that your ADC doesn't die. They make it so that the ADC can get kills early game if applicable. They just basically support the team. They secure kills. They make it so that the entire team can come in and actually deal damage to a god which might be outpositioned or roaming in your jungle or something, or they might defend a really important objective or something like that there. They place wards in the map so you know where enemies are running around so they don't jump in and kill you from the jungle, you know, things like that there. That's what a support does. So most of these gods are heavily focused on taking a lot of damage and securing enemies in one position. So let's say mesmerizing them, stunning them, slowing them down, pulling them towards you with a ton or something like that there. That's what most of these gods are really focused on. My favorite Guardian has to be Athena, simply because she has a really good kit. She has a slow, she has a taunt, she has a very good damaging ability, and she can get back into lane and support teams in the blink of an eye. Simply because that's her ultimate. She can just jump to any allied god on the map, and it's insane. I just think she's a extremely powerful god, and if played correctly, she can basically change the tides of a match, because she can do so many things at once. Just a great god. That's all I really have to say, you know. So which support you choose is really up to you. You're basically just really tanky with them. So if you feel like you're dying a lot in the game, definitely try to play one of these gods, because it will help you out a lot. So moving on to our next god, or a god section, god category, we're playing as warriors. Now warriors, kind of a tank and spank type playstyle here. Now it's not for everyone, because these guys play in the solo lane, so they're all by themselves in the lane. Usually roam to help out the middle lane and to help out the jungler, take some camps. But for the most part, these guys will be in the right hand lane if you're playing on the blue side, left hand lane if you're playing on the red side, in the solo lane by themselves, and they're mainly focused around sustaining, keeping their health up, keeping their mana up, and dealing little amounts of damage, kind of like the Mage does, but to much of a lesser extent. It's more about beating your opponent, out sustaining them, not necessarily killing them, but staying in the lane longer than them without necessarily touching them, just out farming them in the camps which are in the jungle right next to you. So my favorite solo laner has to be Shaq. So Shaq is good because he has very good poke with his 1, you basically throw an axe out at them. His 2 is like a little whirlwind thing, you spin around and you deal damage. It's pretty cool. His 3, it basically just heals you, and it'll solo anyone who's trying to sort of basic attack you or is right up in your face. It'll slow them down. And then your 4 is a silence, which basically makes it so that the enemies can't use their abilities for a short period of time. Very good god. He's my favorite solo laner just because of I get to poke the enemies out early game, and then I just kind of beat down on them. I make them very scared early game, and then that's it. He also has very good sustain, because every 5 basic attacks basically makes it so that he doesn't have to use mana to cast one of his abilities, which obviously we'll talk about passives and stuff in a later video. But this is your solo laners. They're all about sustaining themselves, keeping themselves alive in the lane, and making it so that their enemies back to base first, or possibly killing their enemies, whatever. It really depends on how good you are at the game. So moving on to our final role, which is the Assassins, one of my personal favorite roles besides ADC. These guys roam around the jungle. They're what is known as a jungler, and basically what they do is they secure camps in the jungle. They make it so objectives are cleared, are secured, and the enemy team don't pick them up. They jump in the lanes and they kill enemies who are low HP, which, you know, let's say the solo laner gets an enemy to 1 health, and they need a little help killing that god. Alex jumps in on her little tiger, what is this called, like, you know, this thing, Jaguar, I think that was called, Black Panther, whatever. She jumps in this here and she gets the kill. That's basically it. You jump in and you kill secure, or you can go in and you can completely burst them down. These gods have extremely high burst DPS, especially in the middle game, so just really early on basically, and you know, just at the midpoint really. Pretty good. I like them, but you have to be good at jungling for them to be useful at all, because if you fall behind, these gods are useless. No point playing this god if you don't know how to jungle. No point at all. Favorite? Ratatasker, because, you know, he's cute and he gets kills. That's basically it. He's very useful. He's got a slow, he removes protections, he stuns, and he knocks them up. You know, awesome god. But I think that is basically going to be it for this video. I'll show you these gods in actions in the next episode. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, please hit like. If you want to see more Smite content, hit like. If you don't want to see more, hit dislike. And stay tuned for more Smite videos. And thank you guys for watching.